What's up, everyone? This is Mr. Honey for Housing and Interiors. Today, we're going to be talking about Spotline, it's part of Form, and moving into the design section. Just wanted to let you guys know that these are notes. Obviously, you're going to fill them out, submit them back in as part of the assignment. But I also wanted to let you guys know that sometimes this stuff can be very abstract and requires some bit of deep thinking and imagination. And so, if you don't quite get it or quite understand it, that's okay. The big thing is that you're going to want to take care of business and make things happen, get these notes in, and obviously, if you're not in class with me today, that'll make it a lot easier for you to understand once you return, and I can explain it a little bit more in depth. But anyway, let's get started. So, spot, line, and the support. So, spot is basically a simple shape, black and white, can represent anything, and the position of a spot creates visual energy. So, in the standpoint of looking at a space, a piece of paper, spot is very simple. Like we have this right here, this little circle blob thing. That is a spot. It's simple, black and white. This can represent anything. This can represent a person in a room. This can represent a flower standing out in a field, a tree in a field. This could represent one desk in a classroom. This can represent anything. And where it is located around the area can create visual energy. It can draw your eye to certain areas. And in many cases, depending on how you feel about it, can assign um, a certain feeling, can assign a certain look to it based off that energy. For example, what could the position of this spot suggest right here? So we have the spot, it's up top. It could suggest that, it's feeling wonderful. We're great. We're on top of the world. We are, we're feeling good. We're on top of everything. Um, and we're drifting away. We're on cloud nine versus this position right here where we're down, we're in the corner, we're in the bottom, we're feeling like we're in rock bottom, we're in the corner. This could mean a lot of different things. It all depends on how you wish to look at it based on what the position of this spot suggests. All right, and this is where a lot of people get confused because they're just like, I don't know what it suggests, it's just a spot in a corner. And in other ways, it's thinking a little bit more deeper as to what this spot could represent. So for example, if this spot was representing a desk in a room, what could that mean? Could that mean that someone's been put in the corner and they're isolated? What could that suggest? All sorts of different things. So another big thing about spot is spot size, which this also sends a very strong message. For example, if we look up in the corner here, we have a small spot, which can mean that if it's a small spot, it's ignored, it's distant, it's not something that you're going to notice right away. But we have this large spot right here, which may seem more confident, which may consense the may con correction. Whew, this large spot may seem more confident, invading, very much taking up a lot of visual energy, taking up a lot of visual space, and just being boom right there in your face. So a lot of times, spot size takes up things. Like if you think about the standpoint of a logo on a shirt. If you have, for example, a Nike logo, a swoosh, and it's big and bold and in your face, people know what that means. It's very simple. Everybody knows what it means. When you walk around, it invades all the visual space of the shirt. People know, hey, that's Nike. But if that swoosh, that Nike swoosh, is very tiny, people may not see it, and they may walk by and and may even ignore the fact that the swoosh is even there. So it's one of those things that even in a design standpoint, the size of the visual energy or the size of the spot creates that visual energy and message. Next, we have combinations. Now, spots of the same size can create a structure and pattern depending on how you organize them. So, as we have here on the left, it's very structured. It looks very simple. It's very pleasing. It's very nice to see. It's very predictable. However, you do have spots of varying sizes, which do create a lot more interest, but at the same time, it's very unpredictable. So it's all over. It creates a different vibe. It creates a different energy. And once again, it all depends on how you want to do it. But sometimes combining these spots can submit different things. So, for example, this right here, the one to the left could maybe represent, people standing in line or people standing at a structure or people, or even maybe desk in a room where, everything is organized versus here, this could represent, um, you know, craziness and wild. I mean, think about it from this standpoint. If these represented people in the pandemic, the left may represent more social distance versus the right representing clusters and just wildness, crazy. Okay, people not thinking the same. So next we have what's called negative space. Now negative space is the white space between spots. And using this space, once again, creates interesting designs and looks. As we have to the left, there's not a lot of space between the spots, so therefore it's very clustered, it's very claustrophobic. Versus to the right here, we have a lot of space. Both very interesting designs. However, that negative space is used differently. And then once again, you can switch up the spot to make it interesting. You switch it all up. You can switch up the space. You can switch up how the sizes are. And you can also switch up basically how the spots look. Some spots are more ovular. Some spots are more circular. And once again, this is all about contour. So the contour of the spots also end up creating some interest within it. So you can combine all of these to make it more interesting. So now what we have with line. So line is basically simple, connecting 2 points, and it can vary in thickness and curvature. Now, I will say this. You can definitely, when it comes to line, you want to get out of that mind space that a line is just straight. All right. Get out of that mind space for the standpoint of this. Here we have curved lines. It is a thing. So just want to get out of that headspace of thinking that lines are just straight and they go from point A to point B. You have what are called straight lines. So these are, there's three types. You have your horizontal, which is the first one here. It's casual and expands your view outward, like the horizon. Then you have vertical, which is more formal, and they lift the eye up and down, as we see in the middle. And then you have diagonal, which is very dynamic and lively, but it can also be very unstable and uneasy. As you see with a diagonal line, this is, making you think a little unstable and easy. Could this line fall over? We don't know. Versus the vertical one, straight up and down, versus the horizontal one, which is already fallen over. So we don't know, but that's one of the big things. These are the three straight lines. Next, we have curved lines. And a lot of times with these, once again, people often get confused because they're like, well, lines aren't supposed to be curved. But in this standpoint, curved lines can exist. They can be very large and flowy, as we see on the top. However, in the shorter and frenzy lines we have below, the curves are very, very quick and they're wild and crazy. And as you see, both of these create a different sense of energy. And in the standpoint, you can once again combine these different lines to create different sorts of designs. So this is one whole design that utilizes, once again, we see white space between the lines, that negative space. We're seeing the use of diagonal lines. We're seeing the use of vertical lines. We're seeing the use of curved lines. And then on top of that, if you notice this vertical line that's going up over here to the right, it is extremely thick as compared to this diagonal line right here, which is very thin. So even creating lines that are varying in thickness, once again, can create that visual energy and create an interesting design. Okay, so these are going to combine up your notes for today. What you guys are going to do is go ahead and submit the PowerPoint into Canvas, and then for the B day, you guys will be working on the assignment for tomorrow in class.